Well, hello. I am going to be talking about the orchestration of death. To orchestrate something is to manipulate the elements of a situation to get a desired effect. So I'm talking today about manipulating the elements of the death situation to get a desired effect, being creating a death story that we can heal from, creating a good death story. Now, who am I? Well, I am Jessica Hanson, and I'm a nurse. I'm a trauma nurse out of Flagstaff, Arizona. I am an instructor. I teach advanced trauma nursing. I teach advanced cardiac life support and CPR. But most importantly, and the reason why I'm here is because I am a survivor, surviving the death of my youngest son, Mason. When I went to tell my family and friends that I was going to be presenting about this, they think I'm crazy, and I don't know if they're wrong, but I told them, I'm like, you know what, I gotta tell the world, I have to tell everyone that there's a better way to do this. And so here I am. I'm here with this perspective of being a trauma nurse and seeing death all of the time since I was 18 years old, and now I have this perspective of being a mother of a child that has died traumatically. It's just interesting to have this. I'm here because I truly believe that everybody in this room has the power to make a difference. Everybody in this room has the power to create a death story that is incredibly beautiful, even a traumatic one. I'm here because I believe that Mason's death story was the gold standard. It was perfect and totally beautiful. So I also recognize that the way that I did death as a healthcare professional was completely inappropriate, totally unhealthy. And in that recognition, I saw that the way that I dealt with death personally directly correlated with how my patients' families are going to heal. The reason I'm here is because the way that I did death personally directly correlated with how my patients' families are going to heal. So this is the part of the presentation I get really nervous, because I'm going to tell you guys that I was really, really a horrible nurse. And you're going to be like, why are you standing here teaching us about death when clearly you sucked? And so this is where I'm going to tell you, yes, I kind of did suck. So I was not taught didactically to do death inappropriately. I think I had a slideshow in nursing school, and it was like, here are the 5 stages of grief. You know, bam, 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 bam. That's essentially all that I got. But after nursing school, when I went on the job, I learned a couple of things. I learned that we need to hide resuscitative efforts from the family. They can't handle it. It's too traumatic. That's not true. I learned that you need to be stoic and not show any emotion, because if you show emotion, then that's going to take away from the family's grief. That's not true. I learned to be this ABC 1, 2, 3 sort of like robotic nursing, completely stripping nursing in general, but especially the death experience, of any humanization. I completely dehumanize the death experience. I'm going to give you an example of me being crazy judgmental. I've since changed, so hear me out. I'm on the other side of this. I was the charge nurse in our operating room, and I got a phone call from the ED, and they said, hey, we have a gunshot wound to the head. It was a gang fight, drug deal gone wrong. And I hung up the phone, and I was just pissed. I was like, you know, God, I don't have time for this today. At first, I don't want to take care of somebody that doesn't want to take care of themselves. And so me, being the judgmental nurse that I was, gathered my thoughts and went down to the emergency room to get this patient. I get the patient, and I bring him to the operating room. He was actively herniating, meaning that his death was imminent, and we needed to do a craniotomy to save his life. We get into the operating room, and we're learning quickly that there were some changes that showed this isn't looking good. So we prep him for surgery. We're still going to do the surgery. And the neurosurgeon looks at me and says, Jess, can you just please go tell the family that we're doing everything we can, but it's not looking good? And I'm like, meh, sure. I didn't think about it for half a second. I literally did not think, like, what am I going to say to this family? So nonchalant, stoic, arrogant, judgmental Jessica goes down to the waiting room. And what was I expecting to see? I was expecting to see maybe a neck-tattooed girlfriend, maybe some more gang members. And when I walked into the room, I said, I'm here to talk to the family of so-and-so. And 30 members of his family stood up. Mom and Grandma came up to me, and I said just that. I said, yeah, well, we're doing everything we can, but it's not looking good. No emotion, no feeling, nothing. Grandma dropped to her knees and started crying, and Mom just stared at me in disbelief. On March 31st of 2016, everything changed. This is Mason, and Mason was run over by his father in our front yard. I am a relatively competent human. I looked at my son, and I knew that there was no way anybody could survive something like this. And my very next thought was, do you want to save him or don't you? Start CPR. And so I did. Think of that, the psychology of that. My head was saying there is no way that anybody could survive something like that, and my heart was just begging for it not to be true. My head and my heart were on two completely different levels. I needed to let them catch up. I needed to let them be on the same level. So I did CPR on Mason. All the way to the hospital in the back of the truck, I was doing CPR. I got out of the truck and ran as fast as I could through the emergency department to Trauma Bay 3. I know where I'm going. I was yelling. I was saying, bring the pediatric code card, call the neurosurgeon. We need help. Please help me. My baby is dying. I get to Trauma Bay 3 and I set Mason on the gurney. And I made eye contact with Dr. Jennifer Kahn, and I said, my baby is dead. And she looked at me and initiated CPR. She told her team, start CPR. That's it. She initiated the orchestrations of Mason's death. And how lucky am I? If she didn't do that, if she would have said, yeah, you're right, he's gone, I'm going to lunch, and just turned and left me, there is no way I would be able to stand in front of you all here today. There is no way I would have been able to take a deep breath the next morning. This that she gave me, this initiation of orchestration was a gift, a beautiful gift, and I am so grateful. So we did CPR in the emergency room, and by we, I mean I crawled onto the gurney and I did CPR on my son. I needed to feel the warmth leave his body. I needed to know that he was truly dead. I needed to know that professionally and personally, I did everything I could to save my baby's life. And so I tried. At one point, Dr. Kahn looked at me and said, we're going to do 2 more minutes of CPR, and then we're pronouncing his time of death. Those 2 minutes were so incredible. They were the last 120 seconds of attempting to save his life. And there was about 75 people in the room, and everybody was completely silent. And it wasn't that busy silence. It wasn't that silence that you're thinking of somebody else or something else. It was that eerie silence that was deep and painful, but completely beautiful and appreciated. So after she now pronounced the time of death, it doesn't mean the orchestration of death stops. It's just a continuation. So Mason is now dead, and I wanted to do some things, so I sang to him for one last time. I sang to him his goodnight song. I cut his hair and I put it in a specimen cup so I could smell him later. I held him for 4 hours after he died, and then I took a picture of his hand resting on my chest. That's morbid, to take a picture of a dead baby's hand resting on your chest. Now, I have this picture and I'm going to show it to you guys. It's intense. I think it's very clear that this is a dead baby's hand on a mom's chest. But if you look at this picture, if you truly look at it, holy shit, it's beautiful. It is a validation that I have had a son live and die. It is a validation that I have struggled and I have survived. This picture is literally everything. My son has been dead for 980 days. I have looked at this picture every single day for 980 days. And in fact, this is a little weird. I'm kind of strange. I love it so much that I got one of my friends to draw it, and I put it up on my wall at home. This picture is everything. It's not weird. So why am I telling you guys this? Why am I talking about this story? I'm not doing it so you can feel sorry for me. I don't want to be felt sorry for. I'm doing this because I want you to truly believe, by the time we leave this, I want you to truly believe that a traumatic death, a pediatric traumatic death, can be beautiful if we have someone like you there to orchestrate it. So I'm going to ask you to do some morbid things. And this is not going to be fun for you. So I want you to go home and I want you to have a conversation with your loved ones. Maybe it's your husband, your wife, your mom, and your dad. And I want you to pretend that somebody that you love with every piece of you has died. Maybe that's a child, maybe that's your spouse. I don't know who it is, but somebody that can just steal your breath away, they've died. And I want you to create your gold standard death story. Maybe it doesn't look like Mason's, but when you create that death story, you just put it in your toolbox and you save it for a day that maybe you're going to be able to orchestrate somebody's death. And how lucky are we that we're human beings and we get to do this? We get to go into somebody's life and make a profound difference and set a solid foundation for healing. How lucky are we? I have some ideas on what you should put in that toolbox, what you should create with that gold standard death story that you're going to create later. I have some ideas. So in order to make it really good, I think we need to invite the family into the room. Get them in there. I don't care how traumatic the death is. Saturate their senses. And now this is a really big one. So we have 5 senses. I want you to think about saturating their senses just so they can know that the death is true. Because they're not going to believe it. You could be the most competent person in the entire world. If somebody you love fiercely is dying, you're not going to believe it. Let them know that the death is true. Empower them. Empower them to make their own decisions. Once they're in there, they're going to feel empowered. Prepare. Have that conversation with your loved ones. What would you want that death story to look like? And most importantly, you guys, I want to heal. And this is not just about the patients this time. This is about us, the people orchestrating the death story. How can we heal? Well, we can heal by orchestrating beautiful death stories. How can patients' families heal? By us orchestrating beautiful death stories. Thank you guys for your time.